Hello everyone, welcome back to the session of English. In this session, we are going to continue with our topic connectors. Now, this is part 4. Well, in our earlier sessions, we have already discussed some connectors and their types. So, we started discussing contradictory connectors in our earlier session. In this session, we are again going to continue with those connectors only. So, in this session, we are going to discuss some more contradictory connectors. Now, what are these contradictory connectors? Contradictory connectors are those in which we have two clauses or two sentences where both the sentences they contradict each other, or the information which is written in both the sentences contradict each other. So, in this session, we are going to discuss some more contradictory connectors. And what are these contradictory connectors? We have a word although, even though, even if, and even then. So these are also contradictory connectors. Now, as I told you earlier as well, that contradictory connectors can be conjunctions, can be prepositions, can be adverbs. So in this session, we are going to discuss all these connectors and their usage as conjunction, preposition, or adverbs. So first, we are going to discuss the word although. Now, although this is just like though that we had discussed in our earlier session. One more thing is there that this connector can be used as a conjunction, can be used as a preposition, and can be used as an adverb as well. So let's begin with this word although, or with this connector although. So first of all, let us discuss its meaning as a conjunction. So we are going to discuss it as a conjunction. So here the definition is there. Although as a conjunction is used to introduce a subordinate clause that presents a contrast or expectation to the exception to the main clause. Now what does this mean? Let us discuss. Suppose we have the word although. Now although is a connector, and as a conjunction we are discussing it over here. And we have further two clauses in this sentence. Now, if these are two clauses, the first one will be subordinate clause. Subordinate clause means in which this although is over there. And this is the main clause. Now, whatever information is given in subordinate clause is just not the expectation of the main clause. Or you can say whatever is given in subordinate clause, the thing that will happen is just opposite to the expectation. Now we expect something as it is given in subordinate clause, but the thing that happens is just opposite. So whatever happens is just opposite to the expectation. This is the main part of this type of connector. One more thing, both these sentences or both these clauses, they contrast or contradict each other. They will contradict each other, they will show the contrast. It means whatever is written in subordinate clause is just opposite to the thing or to the information that is given in main clause. For example, if I say although Ravi is poor, although Ravi is poor, he helped his friend. Now, because Ravi is poor, so we can expect that he will not help his friend of money, but he helped him with money. Though he is poor, it was not expected of him, but he did so just for his friend. So, although Ravi is poor, he helped his friend. So, despite being poor, he did so. So, this is showing the contrast, or it is just opposite to what was expected of him. So, this is how we can use the word although. One more thing is there with the phrase although, or with the word although, we can make a pair conjunction as well. We can use it as a pair conjunction as well. But whenever it is used as a pair conjunction, we always use yet with it, or we can simply put a comma. Now, although can be used as a single conjunction as well as a pair conjunction. If it has been used as a pair conjunction, we use yet with it, and if it is a single conjunction, let it be. We can also put a comma over there after or in this pair of although and we can have a single comma over there. So this is how we can use although in a sentence. Now let us get back to the slides. Now here we are going to discuss some more points about although. It indicates that despite the information in the subordinate clause, the main clause remains valid or true, or it means it does not get disturbed, or it remains same as it is, or you can say it is totally unrelated to the subordinate clause. Now, the usage of although. Although as a conjunction is used to introduce a subordinate clause, introduce a subordinate clause, it means if it is although, only subordinate clause will come over there, and whatever is written in subordinate clause will not according to the main clause, or whatever is expected of that will not happen in the main clause. Provides a contrast to the main clause of a sentence. This contrast highlights a situation where one might not expect the main clause to be true given the circumstances described in the although clause. Now, what happens? Suppose the sentence is, although she did not study for the exam, Now, this is the sentence and this is the subordinate clause. Now, if it is written, she did not study for the exam, now one might expect, in fact, one may expect that obviously she will not pass or she will not qualify the exam. So here, only the information is given about what she had done or about what can be expected of her now. But now what happens? She qualified the exam with good marks. She qualified the exam with good marks or with good grades. So with good marks. Now in this sentence, we can see that what was expected of her, that she will not pass. But what happened? She qualified the exam with good marks. So this was the result. But it was not according to what she had done or what the information is given in subordinate clause. So they both the situations are just contrast with each other. They just are opposite to each other. So this is how we can use the word although, and this clause in which although is given or in which the sentence is written, this is called subordinate clause, whereas this clause in which the information, the entire result is given, that is called the main clause. Now let us get back to the slides to have some more examples of it. For example, although it was raining, the outdoor concert went ahead as scheduled. Now, if it rains, what we do, we just want to stay indoors. We just avoid going outside, or we just avoid doing any work outside or outdoors. So if we are playing, if we are doing if we are going to do some event outside, what we do, we just cancel it or avoid it. But here, the raining did not disturb it at all. Although it was raining, the outdoor concert went ahead. It means it did not, or it was not disturbed at all by this activity of raining. So these two situations are opposite to each other. So we can use the word although. Although she had very little time, now she had very little time, it means the time was very less as per the requirement. She managed to finish the project, yet she did it, or she completed the project. So it was not expected of her, yet she did it. So this is how we can use the word although, that whatever the situation was there, it did not disturb it at all, or it did not affect, or it did not affect the another situation as well. So this is how we can use the word although. Now one more thing is there. The position of although can begin the sentence, or it can come in between the sentence as well, or you can say in the middle of the sentence. How? Suppose, now we know well that we have to write this although in the beginning of the sentence and in the subordinate clause. Now, if I just make it in between, what I can do, I can write it like the outdoor concert went ahead, concert went ahead. Now here I'm just starting or just beginning the sentence with the second clause, with the main clause. Although it was raining. Although it was raining. Now the sentence, the meaning remains same, but the position of although and the subordinate clause is changed. Now one more thing is there. If you have to change this position, now we have although, then we have subordinate clause, and then we have main clause. This is the structure. So first we have subordinate clause, then we have main clause. Now what we do, if we want to change its position, we don't just change the position of although. In fact, we change the position of this structure, that is although plus subordinate clause. We did not only take although in between. What we do, we just shift this entire clause, although and subordinate clause, after the main clause. So this is how we write if we have to write this although in between. So this is main clause, then we have the word although, and then we have the subordinate clause. So this can be the structure if we want to change the position of although from the beginning to the middle part. Now let us get back to the slides. Now let us have some more examples. If it is starting a sentence, although he was not well, he decided to attend the meeting. Although the task was challenging, they completed it with great enthusiasm. Now we can also shift this although in between. How? We have to change the position of the entire subordinate clause, and the sentence will be like, he decided to attend the meeting although he was not well. They completed it with great enthusiasm, although the task was challenging. Now here, the position of the task with it will also be replaced. How? They completed the task with great enthusiasm, although it was challenging. This will be the correct sentence. Now let us move to the next one. If we want to shift it in the middle, as I told you, she went out for a walk, although it was already getting dark. He agreed to help, although he was already very busy with his own work. So this is how we can shift. Although with the entire subordinate clause, we can shift it after the main clause. This is main clause and this is the subordinate clause. Subordinate clause is somewhere which begins the structure of the sentence, or you can say which begins the concept of the sentence or the cause of the sentence. Also, which has the word although in it. So that is called subordinate clause. Now let us move to the next one. Structure of although. Subordinate clause introduced by although, as I have already told you, begins with although, contains a subject and a verb. Cannot stand alone. That sentence, that clause will not stand alone, because if I say although it was raining, now it does not make sense. So this is not the entire complete sentence. We need something for after it. As a complete sentence, it provides supplementary information. But the main clause, they are the complete sentences, they can stand alone as well. A complete sentence that can stand alone contrasts with the subordinate clause. So these are the two features of the main clause, and both the points are very important. Now they decided to go for a hike. Now if this is the sentence, they decided to go for a hike, so this is the complete sentence. If it is written, nobody will ask you that why, how, what, no, nothing. The sentence is absolutely correct. Though it is not beginning with although, but this is the main clause and this sentence stands alone. And it has some meaning as well. Now, if we combine these two clauses together, the although clause can be placed either at the beginning or the middle of the sentence. If it comes first, a comma usually separates the two clauses. The main clause follows, presenting a contrast to the information in the although clause. Now, if I begin this sentence with although, obviously we'll put a comma in between of the two sentences. Example, although it was raining, they decided to go for a hike. So here the comma is in between after the subordinate clause. Alternative structure, they decided to go for a hike, although it was raining. Now here we can put a comma or we cannot put a comma. Both the options are there. So this is how we can use the word although. Rules associated with although. First of all, we have subordinate clause. Although introduces a subordinate clause which must contain a subject and a verb. Contrast the clause although with although presents information that contrasts with or opposes the main clause information. Position. The although clause can appear either at the beginning or the middle of the sentence. Comma usage. When although starts the sentence, use a comma to separate the subordinate clause from the main clause. Although, now let us have some examples of although. Although it was raining heavily, they decided to go for a walk in the park. She stayed up late studying for the exam, although she was feeling exhausted. Although he's very talented, he lacks confidence in his abilities. Oh, opposite situations are there. I decided to buy the car, although it was more expensive than I had originally planned. Although they disagreed on many issues, they remained good friends. Although the restaurant had excellent reviews, the food didn't meet our expectations. So there are opposite structures, because if the restaurant had excellent reviews, one might think or one must think that the food will be tasty, but it was not as per the expectations. So this is how to show this contradiction we can use the word although. Let us have some more sentences. Sarah decided to accept the job offer, although it required her to relocate to a different city. Although I'm on diet, I could not resist having a small piece of cake at the party. Although he had long list of tasks to complete, she managed to finish them all by the end of the day. Now here we are going to discuss another connector, that is even though. Well, I hope though is clear to you. Now we are going to discuss even though, although we have already learned. So let's begin with even though. Again, it can also be used as the conjunction, preposition, or adverb. Now here we are going to discuss meaning of though. Meaning of even though. Even though as a conjunction, again we are going to discuss this word as a conjunction. That means despite the fact or although. It is similar to the word although, but it just emphasizes using the word even, that even it happens, or it is focusing that if this also happens. So this is how we can use the word even though. It is used to introduce a contrasting or concessive clause that highlights a contradiction or unexpected result in relation to the main part of the sentence. So the usage of this is similar to that of although. Usage of even though is a conjunction used to introduce a contrast or concession in the sentence. Even though is often used to contrast two conditions or facts. Even though it was late night, she continued working on her project. So even though is just like although. Now even though is just more emphasizing on that particular word, that we are just stressing to this particular point that even though it was late at night, she continued working on her project. Even though he had a fever, he went to work. Concessions. It is used to indicate a concession where the second part of the sentence contradicts or is unexpected, um, given the first part or according to the given in the first part. Even though she is a vegetarian, she cooks meat for her family. So this is extreme. Even though he apologized, she could not forgive him. Even though can introduce a surprising or unexpected result. How? Let us see some examples. Even though he had little experience, he won the competition. So it was just unexpected of him. It was like a surprise. Even though it was a small gathering, the party was a huge success. So again, this is not according to the expectation, but it happened. So it is just an exception. Now let us move to the next one. Contradictions. It is used to point out contradictions or disparities. Examples: even though they were siblings, they had completely different interests. Even though the product was expensive, it sold out quickly. It can be used to emphasize a point or argument. Now, this point is very, very important. Even though I have told you many times, you still do not understand. So, this is how we are emphasizing on the particular situation. Even though it is just a game, we take it seriously. A structure of even though. Even though is a conjunction that is used to introduce a subordinate clause that contrasts with the main clause. Now, a structure of even though in different positions. Now, it can be the beginning of the sentence. Even though she was tired, she continued working. Even though it was raining, the children went to the park. Even though he was warned, he still made the same mistake. So, this is how we can begin the sentences with the word even though or with the connector even though. Now, here we can see this is again the subordinate clause. Though she was tired, even though she was tired, she continued working. Now, let us move. In the middle of the sentence, she continued working even though she was tired. The children went to the park even though it was raining. He still made the same mistake even though he was warned. So these are some sentences related to even though position wise in the middle of the sentence. I enjoy reading even though I don't have much time for it. So it is how we are using even though in the middle of the sentence. She is a good friend even though we do not always agree. He got the job even though he didn't have much experience. I'm still going to the party even though I do not, it is do not feel well, or I'm not feeling well. She's going to stay with me for a while even though she doesn't have a place to live. He is going to try his best even though he knows it will be difficult. So this is how we can use the word or the connector even though. Now let us have some more examples. Even though it was cold outside, she went for a jog. Even though he had little experience, he decided to apply for the job. Even though the task was challenging, she completed it with great efficiency. Even though he felt nervous, he delivered an excellent presentation. She went for a jog even though it was cold outside. He decided to apply for the job even though he had little experience. So these are some sentences that show how we can use the word or the connector even though in the beginning or the middle of the sentence. Now let us move to some more sentences. She completed the challenging task with great efficiency even though it was difficult. He delivered an excellent presentation even though he was feeling nervous. She went for a jog in cold even though. He decided to apply for the job, inexperienced as he was, even though. So, this is how we can use the word even though at the last of the sentence as well. She completed the challenging task, displaying great efficiency, even though. So, even though we can also end the sentence with the help of even though. Now, let us move to the next one. Now, here we are going to discuss even if. I hope you understood the meaning of although and even though. So, here we are going to discuss even if. Now, let's begin even if. Now, meaning of even if is used to introduce a clause that presents a condition, often hypothetical or contrary to the actual situation, and is followed by the main clause that states an outcome or action that remains true or will happen regardless of the condition presented. So, it is just like we have learned even though and although, but a different slight or a slight difference is there, which we are going to discuss right now. This creates a contradiction or contrast between the hypothetical condition and the actual outcome of the statement. So, hypothetical, it means which was expected and which really happened. So, both are contradictory with each other. So, this is how we can use even if. Even if it rains, we will go hiking. In this sentence, even if it rains, whatever happens. So it just shows whatever. We will go hiking. The phrase even if it rains presents a hypothetical or potential condition, that is rain, which is contradicted by the certainty expressed in the main clause, we will go hiking. It means it will not be disturbed, it will happen. This implies that the action going hiking will happen regardless of whether the condition occurs or not. There is rain occurs or not. Usage of even if. Even if is a conjunction used in sentences to introduce a hypothetical or conditional situation, emphasizing that the main action or statement holds true regardless of the condition. That means it does not affect at all. Even if is used to set up a hypothetical or unlikely condition. For example, even if it is snows, I will go to the market. So whatever happens, I will go. So this is how we can use the word even if. Emphasizing unchanged outcomes. The main clause of the following even if states an outcome or decision that remains unaffected by the hypothetical scenario. For instance, even if you offer me $1 million, I will not sell my house. So even if you offer me $1 million, it means whatever the condition is there, I will not sell my house. So this is how we can use the word even if or the connector even if. Now, structural placement. It typically leads a subordinate clause. The sentence is structured with even if, introducing the conditional part followed by the main clause that conveys the principal action or statement. Now let us move to the next one. Let us have some examples. Even if I'm tired, I always read before bed. So, whatever the situation is, but I always read, it means I always read. This is my habit. Contrast with reality. Often, even if presents a situation that contrasts with the current or known reality, highlighting a strong commitment or stance. Even if everyone disagrees, I will stand by my decision. So it is just opposite to the reality. Even if everyone disagrees, I will stand by my decision. It means it shows determination of whatever happens, no matter what. Different from even though. Now, how it is different from even though? While even if deals with hypothetical or future possibilities, even though is used for real existing situations. For instance, even though I'm tired, I will finish this work. The speaker is actually tired. Versus, even if I get tired, I will finish this work. So it is just showing the reality, or it is just showing that the speaker is actually tired. Whereas this is just a myth that if it happens. Structure of even if. The general structure can be represented as even if, subordinate clause, main clause, as we have discussed earlier as well. Even if it rains, we will go to the park. Subordinate clause, even if it rains and we will go to the park, is another part. That is the main clause. In sentences where the even if clause comes after the main clause, the comma is usually not needed. For instance, if I say we will go to the park even if it rains. Now here we do not require comma again because subordinate clause is just after the main clause. So we can shift the position of the clauses, that is main clause and the subordinate clause, but we cannot just shift the position of the conjunction given, that is even though, or although, or even if. Now let us move to the next one. Stronger than if. It is stronger than if because it implies a stronger emphasis than if alone. Unchanged outcome indicates the main action of outcome is unaffected by the condition even if the clause. For example, even if it snows tomorrow, we will still go on our hike. Enjoy if you study all night. You might still find the exam challenging. Is even if you study all night. Even if I arrive early, I will wait for you outside. I will join the team for dinner even if I have to work late. Even if I'm tired, I will attend the meeting. Even though I'm tired, I will attend the meeting. Now, this is hypothetical, this is actual. Now let us move to the next one. Even if the odds are low, I will still apply for the scholarship. Even if they offer me a higher salary, I won't leave my current job. So this is how we can use these words in our sentences. Now let us move to the next one. Now here we have the word even then. This is another connector, even then. This is again very important and it differs in the meaning. Meaning of even then used as a conjunction in a sentence typically serves to introduce a contrasting or continuing condition in the past context. It means even then used as a conjunction, first of all, in a sentence typically serves to introduce a contrasting or continuing condition in the past context. So whatever was happening in the past, even then shows that particular condition. For example, it is often used to refer back to a previously mentioned time or situation. Now, suppose I say, it will happen now, even if. It means I'm showing the present part. But if I'm saying even then, I'm talking about the past time and giving a condition in the past time that if it had happened. So there we can use even then. Adding information that introduces a contrast or exception to what has been stated, which has already happened, which has been stated. We are just modifying that, or we are just saying even then. Even then is just opposite of even if. Even if and even though is used for the present part, but even then is used only for the past part. Usage of even then when used as a conjunction in a sentence typically bridges a past situation with a present or continuous action or condition, emphasizing continuity or contrast. For example, even then refers back to the previously mentioned or understood past situation or time. It is used to connect the past context with the current observation or a statement. Introducing contrast to continuity. This conjunction often introduces a contrast to what might be expected from the past situation. Now, what could be expected from the past situation can be changed in the sentence form only with the word even then. Or it may suggest that the same condition or action has continued from the time until now. So, the task has already happened, or it has been in continuation till now. Yet, whatever we change or we expect to change is of the past part. Emphasizing an exception or unchanged outcome, even then can highlight that something was true occurred in the past, even under certain conditions that might have suggested otherwise. For example, the company was not profitable in its early years. Even then, the investors had faith in its potential. So we are talking about a company that was in past. So the company was not profitable in the early years. Even then, the investors had faith in its potential. So it is just about showing the past part that had happened, and even then. So it is just like even now we use for present, and even then is used for past. He was an excellent writer in his youth. Even then shows the past time. He showed a showed a talent for storytelling that persists today. Initial statement. The sentence begins with a statement that establishes a past situation or condition. This part lays the groundwork by describing a scenario that occurred or was relevant in the past. Conjunction of even then. Following the initial statement, even then is used to bridge the next part of the sentence. It serves as a pivotal point indicating the transition from the past context to present and ongoing situation. Now, contrasting or continuing statement. After even then, the sentence continues with a statement that either contrasts with or extends the initial part of the context. This part reveals something that was true or happened despite the past conditions. Or it can indicate that it indicates that the certain aspect of the past situation is still relevant or in effect. Typical structure, past context or situation, then we have even then and then contrasting or continuing statement. So here also both the statements are contrast with each other, are contradict with each other, they will contradict with each other, but the main thing is whatever is written in the main clause should be in the past tense, because that was expected to be changed in the past time only. For example, the company was struggling financially in its early years. So early years, we are showing the time of past. Even then, it means even at that particular time, its innovative spirit attracted dedicated employees. Now let us move to the next one. Rules associated with even then, links to past context. This is the main part. Refers back to previously mentioned past situations or condition. Introduces continuation or contrast. Used to introduce information that either continues from or contrasts with the past contexts. Sentence replacement typically appears in the middle or at the start of the clause, often followed by a comma. Emphasize persistence or change, highlights that a condition or action from the past continued or had a contrasting outcome. So here we saw that even then is just contrasting the two statements, or is just containing the two statements in that particular sentence, in which in the subordinate clause, whatever it is written, it refers to the past action. Now different from even if and even though. How it is different from even if and even though? Not interchangeable with even if, hypotheticals, or even though real contrast. Now even though is shows real contrasts, even if hypothetical, that is totally imaginary, whereas even then shows the actions of past. Requires context, cannot stand alone, needs as a past context for proper passage or usage. Examples of even then: the software was still full of bugs in its early release. Even then, it showed great potential. In his early career, now again we are showing the time of past, he was largely unknown. Even then, his talent was undeniable. So, even then, at that particular time as well, his talent was great. It was undeniable. The market was highly volatile at that time. It means it is showing the time of past. Even then, some investors saw it as an opportunity. During the 1800s, long distance communication was challenging. Even then, people managed to maintain relationships across continents. Resources were extremely limited during that period. Even then, they achieved remarkable scientific breakthroughs. Even then, when the technology was nascent, visionaries predicted its profound impact. The artist was not well received in her lifetime. Even then, she continued to create groundbreaking work. They faced numerous obstacles in those days. Even then, their commitment to the cause never wavered. The equipment was outdated and inefficient. Even then, the team managed to produce excellent results. It was an era of limited scientific understanding. Even then, some theories of that time have held up to the modern scrutiny. The company was just a startup operating out of a garage. Even then, its ambition was clear. Travel was much more difficult in early 20th century. Even then, explorers managed to map vast regions of the earth. So this is how we can use even then, but that only contradict the sentences or the situation which occurred in past. Now, these were some conjunctions or connectors that we had discussed in this session. I hope you understood them all. We'll again continue with some more connectors in our next session. Thank you very much. Thanks to you.